Tell me what happened when you were 14.
That was around the time that I started getting into drugs, I believe. Pretty much for me, I was at a time and place where a lot of devastating things happened to me that made me become depressed and I just didn't care anymore. I was just like, whatever. And it was more of a curiosity thing at first. So I started then. And then it was just more of a social kind of thing. And then eventually it became something that I had to do as a crutch for me to deal with situations. The people that I was friends with already did drugs. Most schools always have like a group of kids who are like the stoners. I was already considered a stoner before I ever even did drugs, just because I hung out with the kids who listened to heavy metal and had long hair and, so I already had everyone thinking I was a stoner, so it didn't even matter from them either. And a lot of my friends had parents that did drugs, and it was just always provided for them. I tried some other things like cough syrup and Dramamine, which is like a motion sickness medicine to get like a hallucinogenic kind of feeling. And all of that just like made you really, really sick, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And then eventually I tried coke, and I was never really too big into the upper drugs, but I did do them for a while. At first it was just like a weekend thing, and then it became an everyday thing. I couldn't enjoy life unless I was doing drugs. I'd be sitting there, I would be just bored, and I'd be like, okay, it's not a good day unless I'm high. So I had to come to the place where I myself wanted to stop and to really make changes, because it was always being forced upon me. It was always like, okay, you're going to stop now, and I never wanted to. And I never realized how I was hurting myself. Like, I thought I was helping myself, and people were just being, over dramatic. And I had to finally realize myself that this was affecting me, and everything is in moderation. When you overdo anything, it's not good for you. And I was way over the edge overdoing it, because I was doing stuff constantly, like every 3 hours, I'd want to get higher. And I finally just made the decision, I need to stop this and clean myself up and try to make my life better for myself and for the people that I care about. And I think that was the main thing that drove me to ever make myself better. It was always the thought of the people who I care about, how it's affecting them.
How do you feel about yourself now?
I feel that I'm a human being, that nobody is perfect, that everyone gets sad and gets upset, and that's part of life, that's part of being human. And I know now that I don't need to rely on other things to make things okay anymore, and that it's better to deal with bad issues right then and there, instead of shoving it back in the deepest part of yourself and doing drugs just to forget, and then 2 or 3 years later you finally think about it again and it comes to the surface, and it's 10 times harder to deal with it than it would have been if you just would have dealt with it right then. I think something that's really hard for kids is they think that they're going to be cool by doing drugs. And you might have 15 minutes of fame with your friends if you do it, but after a while you're just like everybody else. You're not different from anyone else. And most people who are doing drugs end up being losers. You don't make anything of themselves. And the friends you make when you do drugs aren't real friends. I mean, you might find one out of all of them that were actually a good friend, and it's not worth it.